We've just come through one of the richest sections in all of Scripture, the Christ hymn in Philippians 2:5-11. If you haven't already sat with that passage, I'd encourage you to go back to the last video and take it in slowly. There, we saw Jesus, the one who humbled himself, who took on the form of a servant, who obeyed all the way to the cross, and who is now exalted as Lord over all. And now Paul turns to us. It's as if he's saying, now that you've seen who Christ is, what are you going to do with it? Let's read the next part, Philippians 2:12-18. Therefore, my dear friends, just as you have always obeyed, so now, not only in my presence, but even more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God who is working in you, both to will and to work according to his good purpose. Do everything without grumbling and arguing, so that you may be blameless and pure, children of God who are faultless in a crooked and perverted generation, among whom you shine like stars in the world, by holding firm to the word of life. Then I can boast in the day of Christ that I didn't run or labor for nothing. But even if I am poured out as a drink offering on the sacrificial service of your faith, I am glad and rejoice with all of you. In the same way, you should also be glad and rejoice with me. Let's take this piece by piece. Paul starts with therefore. That's always a bridge. He's saying, in light of everything we just said about Jesus, now it's time to apply it. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. That phrase is often misunderstood. He's not saying work for your salvation. Salvation is by grace. It's a gift, but once received, it needs to be worked out, lived out, expressed in our attitudes, relationships, and actions. And the tone here is reverent, with fear and trembling, not terror, but awe, a kind of serious joy that says, this matters more than anything. It's spiritual maturity. It's discernment in motion. And then Paul says something incredibly freeing. For it is God who is working in you, both to will and to work for his good purpose. The Greek word for working is energeo, yes, where we get energy. God is actively energizing you from within. He doesn't just give commands and walk away. He works in you to shape both your desires to will and your actions to work. This is grace in motion. This is the beautiful paradox of Christian growth. You are called to obey, but God is the one empowering your obedience. You don't have to manufacture holiness. You participate in what God is already doing. Let me ask, where in your life do you need to stop striving and start cooperating with God's work in you? Okay, now Paul gets practical. Do everything without grumbling or arguing. That word, grumbling, gogusmos in Greek, is the same word used of Israel when they complained in the wilderness. It's muttering under your breath. It's the quiet resistance that poisons community and hardens your heart. And arguing, dialogismos, is about divisive debates, fruitless disputes. Basically, when pride becomes louder than love. Paul's saying, let your life reflect the mindset of Christ, not just in public, but in your reactions, in the little things. Now watch the result, so that you may be blameless and pure, children of God, shining like stars in the world. That's powerful. He's not saying, be impressive. He's saying, be distinct. In a world of cynicism, division, and pride, you shine by being joyful, humble, and united. And how? By holding firm to the word of life. That's how we stay grounded. You can't shine if you're not anchored, and that anchor is the word, the gospel, the truth that shapes how we think and how we live. Paul closes this section with something deeply personal. Even if I am poured out as a drink offering, that image comes from the Old Testament. A drink offering was poured out next to the altar, totally spent, nothing held back. Paul says, if my life is being spent so your faith can grow, it's worth it. That's pastoral love. That's spiritual maturity. And then he says, rejoice with me, because Christian joy isn't rooted in ease. It's rooted in purpose. What does this mean for us? So let me bring it back to you. Are you working out your salvation or coasting spiritually? Do you live with a sense of awe that God is at work in you? Is there grumbling in your spirit that needs to be surrendered? Are you holding fast to the word or slowly drifting? Where is God calling you to be poured out for someone else's joy? This section is all about living the Christ hymn. You've seen his humility. You've seen his obedience. You've seen his exaltation. Now you are called to reflect that, to work it out, shine it out, and live it out. In the next verses, Paul's going to give us two real-life examples, Timothy and Epaphroditus, two humble, faithful men who actually lived what Paul's been preaching. But for now, just sit with this. Ask the Lord, where do I need to cooperate with your work in me? Where do I need to stop grumbling and start shining? Thanks for being on this journey. Keep meditating on the Word. Keep working it out with fear, with joy, and with hope.